Disney World Studios has some of the biggest headliners in Disney World, but are they all blockbuster hits? Let's go through them and see which ones should be in the spotlight and which ones should be left on the cutting room floor. Right, let's start off with one pretty much when you walk into the park, right in front of you is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Mine Train. Now, this thing is fantastic. I absolutely love this. This is a very, very immersive trackless dark ride. So cleverly done. You're on this train with Goofy driving along, and then it all goes wrong and he goes off one way and you go off the other way, and then you just go through all these different scenes. Great projection mapping, some real props, etc. I absolutely love this one. It is just fantastic. Now I know there's a lot of people who miss its predecessor, the Great Movie Ride, I think it was. I did go on that many, many years ago, but I think this is fantastic. And we're going to start strong and put this one straight in that keep pile. Another one of the attractions that this park is very well known for is the Tower of Terror. Now, this was the original one. There have been multiple around the world. I have done the Paris one and I have done this one. The one over in California is now Guardians of the Galaxy. The one in Japan's completely different, sorry, China, Japan, Asia. But this is the original one, and it's a little different to the rest because most of them, you basically reverse back and then you go up and down the lift shaft and then you pull back forward again. This one, you go up a little bit, there's a little bit of pre-show stuff, and then you leave the shaft and you drive around in this kind of one of the floors of the building, and then you enter another lift shaft, and that is where you start doing the drops. And I think it's fantastic. I do really enjoy the Paris one, possibly more than this one, but I am an absolute fan of this. My missus, not so much. She came on with me, never again. But I like it, so I'm going to put it in the keep pile. Just beside that is an attraction that has been closed the last couple of times I've gone, and it's about to get completely replaced. And that is Rock and Roller Coaster, Aerosmith at the moment. It's a good ride. It's probably time for it to change, to be fair, but it is a great attraction. You know, beautifully well themed. You obviously go in through that pre-show and then you see the band, and then it's like, oh, you know, we need to get you to the concert or wherever it is. We've got a limo, come with us, all that kind of stuff. And then of course it is that high-speed launch, and then basically a roller coaster in the dark. And it's a good one. I do enjoy it. Now, they've announced that this is getting re-themed to the Muppets, so obviously Muppets 3D is closing, and then the Muppets IP will go into this attraction. So I'm curious what it's going to be like, but as it stands right now, before it departs, I would keep it, although Disney isn't. A smaller attraction, or at least a less intense attraction, would be Star Tours. Now, if you saw my Disneyland Paris, they have a similar attraction over there, and I'm a fan of it. Equally with this one, I think it's a fantastic concept. It is that 3D motion simulator, but it's so well done in that, you know, they have this bank of clips and then they just combine them randomly. So I've been on it multiple times and not had the same sequence, because every time you go hyperspace, they just cut to a different scene. So you're not likely to get the same. You've got different bits at the start with who the fugitive is. You've got, you know, different characters from the franchise coming in to say, look, we need to get this guy out and all that kind of stuff. It's just really, really well put together. And I am a massive fan of it. My partner came on this one with me as well, and she enjoyed it the first time. She got motion sick the second time. So if you are somebody with motion sickness, this one could be hit or miss for you, but if not, you will enjoy it. It is a fantastic ride. Another one I'm going to add to the keep pile. Now, sticking with Star Wars, there is probably the most immersive attraction anywhere in the world. Well, I'll say that. I haven't been to Epic Universe yet. That could be a contender. However, this one is Rise of the Resistance. Now, this thing is unbelievable. The level of detail in this is just phenomenal. It's a really long attraction. I want to say it's like 15 to 20 minutes in total, because you've got, so basically you go in and then, what's the first thing you do? You go into the ship, and then you're kind of in there and you're supposed to be flying around, and then it gets like captured, and then the guys come in and then they take you out, and you're in a different area, and then you go in and there's all the stormtroopers in that gigantic room, which is just mind-blowing in the level of detail in there. Then you're taken around to be interrogated, you're split off into groups, you're put into this kind of cell, if you will, and then they come along and they're sort of talking to you, and then the door explodes and you go out the side, and then you get into this ride, and then trackless dark ride, and It is unbelievable, the level of detail, the length, just the quality of this one. And I've done it a few times, I have paid for it, and I have stood in the queue. Because I'm not a fan of queues, I'm quite lazy in that respect. I'd rather spend some cash and skip the queue. And I have done that, and to be honest with you, I know there's a lot of people that don't like spending money on rides, especially when you've spent an absolute fortune in the first place. But if this is an attraction that you've never experienced and it has a massive queue, you will not be disappointed if you spend that money. I guarantee you will not. It is unbelievably mind-blowing, and definitely one of the most immersive attractions I have ever seen, and probably that exists anywhere in the world. So we're going to keep the trend going, and we're adding this one to the keep pile as well. Another attraction, or coaster I should say, is Slinky Dog Dash. And I have mixed feelings about this one because, look, it's a coaster, I love a coaster, happy days. It's not a bad coaster, it's like a family launch coaster, not the most intense by any stretch of the imagination, not designed to be. It runs multiple trains, you know, all that sort of stuff. My main frustration with this one is, again, that queuing system. It is either a very, 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 very long queue, or you have to try and get the Genie Plus Lightning Lane, whatever they're calling it this week, and that is just frustrating because it's very difficult to get. So it is not the most accessible attraction, it's not the easiest to get on, and again, unless you're prepared to stand in a massive long queue. And it's good, but I don't think it's good enough to stand in a long queue for. You know, I'd maybe queue 30 minutes, 40 at a push, but beyond that, I don't think it's that good. So listen, I've said it in every video before, I am not a fan of scrapping coasters, but I'm also not completely sold on this one. So this one is going to go into my take it or leave it pile. And just opposite that one is Toy Story Mania. Now this is their kind of indoor shooter ride, 3D shooter ride. It's good fun. If any of you have been to Fantasyland and done Mouse with Chocolat, it's exactly the same. Well, obviously themed different, you're not shooting mice with a pastry bag, but you know, it's the same concept, same vehicles, same screen-based thing, same glasses, same drawstring kind of gun thing. It's good fun, it is good fun. It can be exhausting actually, pulling that string is, yeah, you get knackered. Again, it's one that can get a massive queue, and I'm not convinced it's worth it when the queue is that big. But it is still a good attraction, and it is one that I am going to keep. Now, the next one's a smaller attraction, and it's one I've only done once, but I was pleasantly surprised by it, and that is the Alien Swirling Saucers, which is kind of in the same area as the Toy Story and Slinky Dog, sort of that area. I mean, on the face of it, it just looks like, it's not quite teacups, but it's one of those ones where it sort of spins around and sort of switches tracks. It's basically going round and round in circles, but it kind of swings out, and I had a lot of fun on this. Again, it's not an intense attraction, it's not meant to be, but it is good fun, and you know, we always need flat rides, so yeah, I was surprised by this one, and I'm going to keep it. This next one might surprise you, and probably not in the way that you think, and that is Smugglers Run. Now, I'll be honest with you, I have only done this once because the first time I was out there with my kids, I completely forgot it existed. Don't know how I forgot, because I was so meticulous in planning this trip, somehow skipped over it completely. But I did do it 2 years ago with my partner, and see, the thing with this ride is, again, you cannot fault them on theming and immersion. It is fantastic. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to geek out on this one. It is brilliant. My problem with it is that I think it's 6 people per capsule. So you've got 2 pilots, 2 gunners, 2 engineers. And I think depending on which seat you're allocated, significantly changes your experience. So I was the engineer, sitting in the back, occasionally pressing a button when something lit up, and that was about it. Which is pretty crap, to be honest. And I just was completely underwhelmed. Now, I think if I'd managed to get the pilot and I was able to do more, it would have been a far better experience. And I get it, you know, it's one of those things. If you're a family, it's great because you all get to play together and you're all doing different things and fantastic. But, you know, in our case, it was like, I think it was 3 groups of 2 people. So like, we're all strangers to each other. It doesn't work. It's a nice concept, but I wasn't that impressed with it. I think it's got a lot of potential, but, you know, especially if you've stood in a massive queue or you've run that gauntlet of paying for it, or, you know, all that kind of stuff, and you end up just being the guy in the back that pushes a couple of buttons, You'll be like, why the hell did I do that? Again, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll probably appreciate the theming as much as the attraction. So for me, not impressed with this one in the slightest. I'm not a Star Wars fan, although I do appreciate a good themed attraction, but I'm gonna scrap this one. There's tons of other things in Disney, loads of meet and greets and all that kind of stuff. But one other one that I'm gonna touch on is the Indiana Jones stunt show. Because I've seen it a few times now. It's obviously one of their big shows in the park. And I don't know, I kind of sit on the fence with this one because it's very impressive what they do. I think they run it like 3 or 4 times a day. You know, and there's a lot of setup and resetting after each performance. It's amazing to see these gigantic sets and some of the stunts and stuff. I don't know, it just lacks something for me. It was great when I was there because the weather turned. It started raining, as it does in Florida sometimes. So it was great to get to an indoor or at least undercover area and see this show. I'd seen it before though. I think it's one of those, I don't think it's one that's got any value in seeing it multiple times. I think once you've seen it and that's it. And listen, there's different people like different things, right? I'm there for the attractions more than the shows, although I have been impressed with a number of shows in the past. This one, I'm gonna put this one as take it or leave it. So that is Hollywood Studios. It's one of the smaller parks in terms of attractions, not as small as Animal Kingdom. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks. I don't know, I think it does have some big hitters, but it just feels like it's missing something. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely one of those parks that you kind of go to, you enjoy a couple of the rides, and then you're like, eh. So listen, there's a lot of stuff there that I put in keep, and there's only one scrap and one take it or leave it, if I've done the numbers right. So, you know, on paper, sounds fantastic. In practice, I don't know, it's not when I go to Disney, it's not the park that I'm itching to get back to. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. What do you think of Hollywood Studios? What do you think of the ride lineup? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you hit that like button and please also consider subscribing. If you enjoy this kind of content, I've got a whole playlist right here full of other parks. Go check it out. Click it.